do want to, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Twitter, but there's not much there. I don't know how they do it. If you think about, I'll say a few words about myself. Another question to you: how many of you watched an HBO series called Deadwood? Not so many. It's a series based on a small town called, surprisingly, Deadwood. Deadwood is in South Dakota, US. It was an illegal residence that was built there in the late 1800s. It came there because of the gold rush. And I think when I joined Sanoma, online advertising was a bit like that. There were no rules, no regulations. It was all new. It was a new way of doing advertising, and everybody saw their own angle in it. So it became a gold rush. And I think we're seeing that even today when we look at the display advertising Lumascape, which is, by the way, just one Lumascape in digital advertising. There's one for mobile and there's one for video as well. But this is all of the tech providers that exist currently in just display advertising. That's a huge amount of companies, and all of them have found some angle or another to be in the market. Now, how do we pick? How do we as a publisher, how does anybody as an advertiser pick their technology? Why are there so many companies? This is from IAB Finland. The share of revenue from different fields of advertising, and digital advertising is actually the largest. What I'm talking mainly about is display advertising. Digital advertising is much more than just display, and the share of display advertising is of course less, but it's still really very significant field of advertising. This is, by the way, I hope the only commercial slide that I have. The rest of them are just funny pictures. What is display advertising? Display advertising is banner ads on a digital service in any screen. There are many different ad formats, many different types, and quite simply, we just use ad servers to serve ads for the users. That's what we're talking about. The other types of digital advertising, for example, I do talk a little bit about in-stream video advertising. There's search, there's native, there's mobile. In my opinion, mobile should be just a part of display. Don't separate it from now on. But yeah, mostly what I say is about display advertising, and well, you'll notice. A little bit of an idealistic approach to display advertising. What is it about? It's an attempt to give a real human user the opportunity to see and interact with what the marketer intended to communicate in a non-intrusive manner. This may not always have been true. Actually, I can say that it has not always been true. And if we're being a bit less idealistic, I suppose we can say it's also used to help advertisers increase their business, and I suppose it's a way for Sanoma to make more money, for example. So there's many uses. But the reason why I'm putting this sentence up is because I think recently there has been a change in display advertising. I think, at least from my perspective, we do want to pay more attention to how, actually pay more attention to the user. So we do not want to disturb the user experience. We want to find ways to be polite to the users and still get the message through, and also provide best possible service for our advertisers. It's not an easy balance. I did decide to explain display advertising a little bit, and I thought of a bag of sweets. I'm sorry for the graphics, I should have hired somebody to do it for me. But a bag of sweets has many different sweets. A bag of sweets could also be our inventory of adding. Each of our websites could be a bag of sweets. So if you take the Ilta-Sanomat bag of sweets, it will have many different impressions. And an impression is, of course, an ad request that we make to an ad server. But not all the sweets are good. Some are fraudulent. And what we aim to do is we remove them already in the factory so that they don't end up in the bag of sweets. We may not always succeed. I'm actually going to use this bag of sweets to talk about some of the trends in online advertising, some of the things that people talk a lot about. One of them is fraud. So somebody forged a candy and put it in our bag of sweets. And this might happen anytime when somebody can gain money by doing this. So if they manage to put the faulty candy in the bag in the factory and they get paid for it, then there is a business case for it. The good news is that we live in Finland, which is relatively small market, not even relatively, actually really closed market. And there are not that many use cases for fraud in Finland. Actually, Finland and Japan are the two countries where fraud is least of a problem in the whole world. I don't have you absolute numbers because it's difficult to measure and we don't actually know the absolute numbers. We just know it's not a serious problem and the percentage of fraud in our inventory should be less than 2-3%. Another challenge is bots, be it a bot or a crawler, friendly or non-friendly. The friendly bots are the ones that are actually telling us that they are bots. The non-friendly ones are those that try to disguise themselves as real human inventory. Some of the friendly bots we just remove from everything because we know they're friendly. We know they're bots. The unfriendly ones, we have ways of keeping a list of sources of traffic that are actually bot traffic sources, and that list is updated. Of course, updating a list like that is never fast enough, so some of the unfriendly bots will always end up in our traffic numbers as well. But then one more thing is bugs. Now, it's not bugs. Well, there might be bugs in scripts as well, but anything that's preventing the specific ad to be shown properly on the device that the user is using. So if an ad doesn't work in your browser, it doesn't work. Those kind of bugs, and also if our technology, if the ad tags that we are placing on the page are breaking in specific surroundings, then we have a problem. Also, not necessarily all of our sweets in the bag get noticed by anybody. And the reasons for that, one thing that we talk a lot about today is viewability. Viewability is basically a standard where basically an ad unit could exist anywhere on the page, anywhere on your device. It might be required for you to scroll before you can see it. If you don't scroll, you'll never see the ad. And at some point, there came discussion about, well, should anybody be paying about invisible ads? And after that, there came a standard, okay, an ad that had the opportunity to be viewed needed to be on screen at least 50% of the area for at least 1 second. And that is a viewable ad. So today, I think all buyers at least are using viewability as a measure of quality for inventory. We're still selling the invisible ads actually. And one of the reasons why we are selling the invisible ads, the candies behind other candies, is because the technology to actually measure what was viewable and what was not is not entirely foolproof. Ad blocking. Who heard the term ad blocking recently? Everybody heard the term ad blocking recently. Only 8.1% ads blocked in Finland by ad blockers. It's surprisingly low figure, especially when we've seen studies that are saying that 35% of all ad traffic is being blocked. Most of those studies are made by companies that have their own ad blocking prevention software to sell, for example. But these are based on actually the publishers measuring in the best possible way that they know, and it's an average from last year. It's not the 8.1% should actually be presented as about 8%, and it could be 15%. We don't really know because the measurement is difficult, and it's partially, this Finnish number is partially based on guessing as well. Not everybody is measuring. But from Sanoma perspective, we can say that it's less than 7% based on the measurements that we've made in desktop. Regardless of whether it's a big problem or not, it's not important to understand that if an ad gets blocked, it gets blocked all the way. So nobody is paying for an ad that got blocked. It's blocked before it's served. It's blocked before it's requested. Okay, so in the end, we have a bunch of candies that we can sell, and what's most important, this last slide, this slide I'm not happy about, but so we have a bunch of different kinds of users, and our customers, our buyers, and we as well want to understand who liked the candy that they picked, or who would potentially like the candy that we would offer them. So for that we need data. We need data to understand what kind of candies attract what kind of people, and with that data we can do targeting on the advertising. The buyer can target the correct candy to the correct person. The more accurate the data, the more likely they are to succeed. And if they do not use targeting, then why not at least get report of who liked which candy? What would be better than that? Than after 10 people ate from a bag of candy, you get the report, I like this one, I like this one, I like this one, and then you can select your audience for the next bag of sweets. And maybe even develop the product based on the information that was gathered. So that was shortly what is display advertising. Do you have any questions at this point for me before I go to the tech stack itself? No. How does it all work? This was originally the only picture I was going to show you today. But then I thought that even though it is a very simple picture, I might have to break it down to smaller bits. So let's try to do that. And we start, well, actually from the big picture. The reason why I drew this at some point was because it was always difficult to explain why do we have such a complex ecosystem for online advertising, when all we need to do is link the marketer to the user. We have the users, somebody wants to show an ad for them. How do we do that? This picture is all about that. What the marketer has to do first is decide how to buy. Just like today, you can buy your bag of sweets from a kiosk or a shop, or actually you can buy it from verkkokauppa.com and have it delivered home. Just the same way a marketer needs to decide how to buy advertising. And this picture, I'm gonna sit down for a while to show what it is. So there is a small triangle inside a large triangle. The base of the triangle shows actually it shows two things. It's the amount of inventory that we can sell with this method, and it's the price. The bigger the area, the smaller the price usually is. The higher up the triangle we go, the higher the price also becomes. Within this manual triangle is everything we used to do. So it is completely manual. It is usually a business that is done by telephone, by email. Somebody calls us and we book a campaign. The funny thing about online advertising is, like I've written here, it has been for many years, online advertising has been the most manual process, the most manual way of doing advertising, although it's digital. All of the processes are manual. There's always somebody using a system. So what is now becoming more of a standard is at least a bit more automated ways of buying. So in the manual triangle we have CPC advertising. You pay for clicks, and that is only one out of 1,000 to 10,000 ads get clicked, not more than that. And a CPC campaign will usually use a lot of inventory to gain a small amount of clicks, and it's usually also the cheapest way to buy. But not all ads are good for CPC. They are the kind of ads that may actually, for many people, be most annoying. They are trying to get you to do a click. There's run-off network campaigns, which are basically campaigns that have no targeting. You buy the Sanoma network, they are not targeted at all. Low price, lots of inventory, high quality inventory, of course. Remarketing is something that can be done after a user has visited your homepage. So make somebody click the ad, end up on the advertiser's homepage, get back to Sanoma network, show more advertising of the same company. On top of that, there are some tailored solutions that we might do with customers, have a deep conversation about their needs and goals, and then make a plan how to do your full year's advertising, for example, with a tailored solution that fits exactly that advertiser. Sorry about that. The manual guaranteed is the bulk of online advertising, the guaranteed advertising. So an advertiser wants to buy 10 million impressions for 1 week for a specific website with specific targeting, and that's what most of the campaigns are like. In the automated side of things, there are equivalents to this, but the difference is that instead of calling us, they are usually automated or semi-automated from the buy side. The buyer can log into a system and buy our inventory. Non-guaranteed self-service tools. I don't have any good examples of what a non-guaranteed self-service tool is. It's more like something that could be offered by somebody by offering a specific product, a floating product for a low price. Anybody can log into a system and buy that ad from that kind of service. Then we come to a programmatic way of buying. Open RTB is what it's called, and programmatic buying is where we actually enable the buyer to use their own data to buy against to buy our inventory against. And this programmatic buying is well, I'll talk a bit more about it later, but for this purpose that should be enough. Marketing automation is something that many companies are working on right away, working on currently. So trying to figure out a way how to do their long-term advertising, how to make sure that their own services are being utilized the best possible way. If I buy something from them, how do they make me return as a customer? How do they make sure that I buy more and more and more and more? Sanoma, along with other publishers in Finland, recently joined an automated guaranteed platform, which was a platform that did exactly what manual guaranteed used to do. So there is now a way for agencies to log into a system themselves, buy a campaign, and it will come all the way to us. Just the same way as they could call a salesperson or send an email to a salesperson and get their campaign bought that way. A private marketplace is again programmatic buying, but instead of being open, instead of somebody being able to buy our inventory automatically, it always needs a deal with us. We agree with the buyer that they will buy with a specific price, and we enable that way of buying in a system. We should be looking at more and more self-service platforms, making sure that whoever wants to buy also the guaranteed standard campaigns in their own, for example, own planning services could do that. We don't currently have, but it is a way of automating buying. In the very top triangle, there is a high value retargeting section. Through programmatic buying, we can enable first look, for example, and using customer data to buy very, very detailed small segments for a higher price. First look meaning if any user comes to our network for the first time, then some advertiser might want to buy that first impression. So it's a bit difficult to explain. There's many different ways of buying, many different terms, but just to understand the complexity at this point is quite enough. If we move on from the big picture for selecting the way to buy to the actual fulfillment, it's pretty much the same topics up here. So it is funny that still today the most common way to buy online advertising is by phone or by email. And I added a small full automation versus no automation coloring to these different ways of fulfilling the customer's order. But what's most important here is that we have the complexity of the buying has forced us to also select many different platforms for the buying. So we need an OMS, an order management system, where somebody from Sanoma can enter the order that somebody calls in. We have the automated guaranteed platform, which is a service provided by Adform. We've set up our products in a platform to enable the buying through that system. If we do self-service, it's every time a new platform. If we do one self-service platform and give that to many, to many buyers, then that's of course one platform. But self-service for small and medium enterprises might be a different service than what it would be for media agencies, for example. So the complexity of buying causes a complexity in the ecosystem as well. Not to speak of programmatic, where we're talking about demand-side platforms that the buyers are using to buy the inventory, and the demand-side platforms are integrated into supply-side platforms where the publishers are providing the inventory to be bought. And the ecosystem of these DSPs and SSPs is huge. There are many to choose from. And finally, even the programmatic buying from demand platform from demand side to supply side is not fully automated. I said previously, if we're talking about private marketplaces, usually they are deals between buyers and sellers, and somebody has to enter the deal into the system for somebody to start buying. And we still may need to check, for example, the banners that they are suitable for. So there are still many manual steps in the buying process. Programmatic buying is growing, but even today, in H1 2017, it was only 28% of all display advertising, according to IAB. We are a little skeptical if this figure is correct, because it is growing and it is growing fast. It might be that H2 is looking a lot bigger numbers already. Right, so the next step in my diagram is the product, and we've decided how to buy. We know there is a platform that is used for the capturing of the order, but in order to actually enter the order, there has to be a product and a price. And in online advertising, the commercial product, the product that our salespeople are selling to the customer, is not the same as the technical product that we actually serve in all of our systems. The commercial product, I added some explanations there. It's simple enough to be understood. It has a nice story around it. It has a clear productization. It is a product with a price. But the technical product is the fact part of the whole. It's the details, it's the complexity, it's all of the technical specs that make it work in our ad operation systems. And of course the banner. The banner itself is what creates a bit more complexity to the whole. The banner could be just a simple image. If it's just a simple image, then it doesn't require much from us to serve it. We have an ad server. We can set up a banner as an image banner in the system, and it will just serve. It will need a couple of HTTP requests from the ad server to the page, and that's it. But usually an image banner is not enough. Usually nowadays we use HTML5 banners, and an HTML5 banner consists of a script, a second script, a library, second library, third library, a couple of images here and there, changing images here and there. And by the way, HTML5 is what replaced Flash, if anybody still remembers Flash. Recently replaced Flash. It is not as good at compressing things as Flash was. So we already had to increase the size limit, the kilobyte size limit for HTML5 ads compared to what they used to be in Flash. And an HTML5 ad is causing way more requests on the page than what a Flash used to do. So just writing a slightly more complex HTML5 ad with a couple of changing pictures, and it's using a couple of nice effects, might take 100 to 200 HTTP requests on our page. Where it gets even more complicated is the standard way of doing things, which Petri will tell more about in the last session, but the agencies don't want us to serve their ads. They want to serve them themselves. So instead of sending us a picture or an HTML5 file, they send us a JavaScript tag. And that JavaScript tag is the tag that is actually writing their ad on the page. And it is that tag that is causing all the requests for the HTML5 ad to appear. And they're not happy with just showing the ad. They need to track it as well, so they send some additional trackers and and cookies and whatnot. So the banner is something we need to keep in mind in all of this, and it is what is causing weight on the websites and amount of an additional amount of requests, and it might be serving some scripts that don't work on the that don't work together with the scripts that we already have on our page. They might not always be using servers that are as reliable as our servers. These are the kind of technical challenges that we have with banners. How do we actually serve the ad to you is the last bit that I'll try to explain. You, the Lego brick user, come onto our content, regardless of what platform you are using. We do ask for consent. It's the banner that either disappears or doesn't disappear when you don't click on it, or disappears when you click on it. We do ask consent for tracking information of your browser usage. Mainly we are talking about cookies. We have a tag manager that is used to handle the tagging for our ad servers. So the tag manager's task is, I actually added a piece of user experience here, which I would like to be doing. We're not doing it so well right now, but the tag manager could potentially make sure that your user experience for advertising is as good as it can be. So, for example, if we do use ad formats that are intrusive, we should not use them for one person too many times. We should limit that. The tag manager can do that. It can make sure that the ad quality is good and the ad quantity is good. But what it is being used for is deploying the ad tagging. And it's also connecting all the information that we need for the ad tags to be shown. It is selecting the correct technology to serve an ad on the specific platform that you're on. It gathers all the data that we know about you as a user, your browser, not you, but your browser, and it collects all the information we know about the page. And based on that information, we write an ad call that represents an ad unit that has been set up on the system. The ad unit has a lot of metadata around it. Those are examples of the kind of data that we are interested in, the kind of data that the buyers can use for targeting or we can use for reporting. In the middle here, there is a headline, header bidding. Header bidding is another term that was quite much hyped about in the last year or so. Header bidding enables us to in advance, before writing an ad call, actually query all different SSPs, inventory sources, about what level of money we would be getting from that inventory source. If we get a response from SSP number 1 and SSP number 2 and SSP number 3 and SSP number 4, and we notice that SSP number 3 is offering the most money for this ad impression, then we can write SSP number 3 ad call on the page before anything else. We're not currently using that technology because it is also causing latency. We would have to wait for an answer from each of the inventory sources that we plug in. Latency is one, and also because we are in a relatively small market, there aren't that many SSPs that we should be asking from. We're actually able to get most of the revenue from our main SSP. Anyways. The other, yeah. So back to the big picture. When you now look at this picture, do you have questions? Because I did explain it a bit badly. But seriously, do you have any questions about any specific thing in that picture? It is.
Well, I have a question about things like malvertising. So there are obviously some security issues in the model because it's quite open. Is there anything specific to know about that?
So, good question. Yeah, malvertising also is being mostly taken care of by the systems that we use. So each of the systems where an ad is being placed in is trying to take care of malvertising. So there are some checks that will be automatically made. Whether it is an ad that we place directly in our ad server will check it. If it's bought programmatically, their DSP will check it and our SSP will check it. But even more important than that is that we do still choose who we work with. So I think the automatic checks will never be foolproof. There will always be failures there, because whoever is creating those malvertisements, they are faster than the systems developing to detect them. But the most important thing is that we do choose who we deal with. We deal with agencies like Dagmar. We deal with big advertisers who we know, and we don't open our inventory sources. We actually don't allow currently anyone to buy unless we whitelist them, even when we are talking about programmatic buying. So in that sense, we are still a small, secure market. But that is a different story in the US, where they, for example, do allow everybody to buy, and they will notice problems afterwards. Anything else?
Do you have a slide which tool you have in every part of this? Or can you explain everything?
I do
Yeah.
have a slide.
Okay.
I'll show it next. Any other questions? That's a very good question. We are currently, well, first of all, IAB Europe just published. IAB is an organization that is trying to make sure that online advertising is being done in a standardized way. It's no longer the Wild Wild West. We do have some rules and regulations, and IAB Europe published soon after IAB US published a new ad portfolio with standard ad formats, but we were only and a lot of standard behavior for different kinds of ad types. And IAB Finland has for a long time operated in Finland to try to make those standards work. And we do actually in display advertising live in a standardized world where we have standard ad placements, standard ad sizes, and we have limitations to what the buyers can do with the ad space. We're not. It's not that easy to limit to. For example, if I could choose, I would just say everybody just use images and nothing else. But because of the use cases that Petri will talk about, we do want to allow a lot of things to be done through the ads, and Facebook does as well. They look uniform, but there's the whole of the same business going on behind Facebook ads as well. But yeah, the short answer is that we do want to, and we do work with standardized ad formats, and we do have rules in place. And the more complex answer is that we want to. GDPR is forcing us to look at how we are doing things with agencies, with third parties, and we do want to harmonize that, and we do want to have stricter rules around what can be done from the banner. Other questions? Okay, I'll just show then the last slide where I've split our services by platform. From the top there is our, let's say, web inventory, whether it be a desktop or tablet or phone. After that there is the app inventory. Hybrid apps are web inventory. Native apps are in the app inventory section. Then there is tablet native apps, third, and a video player, fourth. What we use for tag management in the services like computers and well, in the standard websites is Telium, a very advanced tag management system. Telium, however, unfortunately cannot be used in native apps, so we have our own Sanoma kit there. The advertising in native apps works a bit differently. We have SDKs from the ad servers, and we need to be able to implement those SDKs into the apps. So the need for different SDKs to be implemented in all of our apps became apparent, so we have built a kit for that. So all of the SDKs that our apps need are in one kit, and that kit enables their usage in the apps. Our tablet apps, HS tablet application is a bit unique in the sense that it's not using the same ecosystem as anything else, basically because Ritchie is the same company that developed the app itself. They also developed the advertising, and there are many special features, many features specific to tablet applications that they need to that we need to consider. So instead of having a separate tag manager and a separate ad server, we just have Ritchie in the apps. The Ruutu video player is something that we use across all of these different platforms and many other platforms as well. And the Ruutu video player itself handles the tag management. There's no tag manager there. We recently changed our ad server. We had a different main ad server, a different system than what was our main SSP, and there were many challenges there. So we were looking for a platform that could do them both in the best possible way, and we ended up with AppNexus. Through AppNexus, we are able to optimize between all the different ways of buying and being able to offer every impression to exactly the buyer that wants it. It's called dynamic allocation, that we do between programmatic buys and guaranteed buys without messing up the guaranteed campaigns. We are still also a part of Adform marketplace, so even though AppNexus is able to provide also programmatically all of our inventory for sales, there is a lot of demand in a private marketplace which Adform is offering. That is because our agencies in Finland are fond of using that platform. In the video side, we also tried to keep the ecosystem whole, in a sense that we wanted to find a system that can also do video advertising for us. But our requirements for video advertising, Ruutu being a big business player, our commercial demands were too much for most of the standard ad servers that could do also video advertising on the side. So we had to go with the top of the market and ended up with Freewheel. But also Freewheel is handling both the programmatic and manual demand within the same platform. Last but not least is just a copy-paste from the Lumascapes. So even though we have a uniform ecosystem, we are still dependent on what happens after the banner. So through the banner, we are applying almost everything in the Lumascape on our sites. That's pretty much all I had to say, unless at this point you have more questions. Maybe I can leave this up for a bit longer, but.
Any questions?
Where does Sanoma invest most of right now? What's the new big thing?
Well, the one I didn't talk too much about, data. And of course, programmatic buying. Yeah, we also have a harmonizing project ongoing concerning the entire lead to cash process for everything, including online advertising, but not just online advertising. Anything else?
How do you see the GDPR changes will affect the ad targeting technologies?
I think that best case scenario, it gives us very good reason to do better. In the worst case scenario, I will be looking for a new job soon. It's a bit difficult because the e-privacy discussion in European Commission is still ongoing, and the latest news haven't been very good. The limitations that they want to set are too strict to keep online advertising alive, and too strict, frankly, to keep news services alive. So I do not believe that they will go through, but we still don't know the final form of that. It's also funny that GDPR date has been set, but the details haven't. Yeah. Absolutely.
How big of a threat do you see something like Criteo?
Criteo is not a threat. Criteo is one of the first to use data in an intelligent way, and yeah, I don't see them as a threat. I see them as we don't actually operate with Criteo right now, but we could be, as long as we understand each other's business needs properly.
Okay, shall we have a beer break now? Let's be back in the room 4:45. So a brief break, and then the next session will be Otto Hilska from Smartly.io.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Oops, and now I dropped the.
Yeah. Okay, if you could.
Se toki. Intro sut sisälle. Okay. One. Can you hear it? This one? This is on. Yep. Is it okay? Okay, great. Okay. Our next speaker, Otto Hilska, is the Vice President of Engineering at Smartly. Smartly built tools to automate Facebook and Instagram advertising. Their clients include Skyscanner, Foodpanda, and other large internet companies. And you perhaps seen Smartly.io on media and heard about their hyper growth. And as a startup, they are growing really fast. And as I understood, their next challenge is to expand to Google, Amazon, and Pinterest. So please join me in welcoming Otto Hilska.
All right, thank you, Tony, and great to be here. Lots of familiar faces. So, as said, I'm running the product development side of Smartly. I actually didn't join from the beginning, but I've been now there for about 2.5 years, and it's been an exciting times. Maybe a little bit about my background. So I started as a developer when I was around 12 or something. Started my first consulting company at 18. Then a startup called Flowdog, a team collaboration tool. We raised money from Silicon Valley, sold it to Rally Software, eventually worked in Silicon Valley and Colorado for a while. And now I actually invested in Smartly when it was just 8 people and then ended up working there myself. So exciting times, lots of startups, but also like other types of tech background. And Tony already introduced what we're doing. So we try to serve the most demanding online advertisers out there, and currently it's Facebook and Instagram. And we had a very good timing, which partly I guess was luck, that we kind of started working on Facebook just when they kind of got their stuff together, because if you remember, it used to be just the small right-hand side, tiny ads that no one clicked, and now it's all kinds of content in the newsfeed and all kinds of signals to target with. So it started developing really rapidly just as we started working on it. And many other companies who built something for Facebook, they started by starting from Google or some other tools, and they thought Facebook was maybe just a single feature for them to add at some point. But turns out it's been one of the fastest evolving ecosystems in the marketing space for a long time. So good timing, lots of interesting customers. Tony mentioned a few. I could mention, for example, eBay, Skyscanner, and even some companies from Helsinki. But about 1% of our revenue comes from here. At the core of our tool is automating all kinds of things that the customers might want to do on Facebook and Instagram. So for example, typically your scale is limited by your ability to try different things and to find very good performing segments where you can offer exactly the right content. And in our tool, you can set up all kinds of templates. So for example, integrating different data feeds, creating ads based on those. And with this, you could, for example, say that when it's raining, within a 1 kilometer radius from our stores, offer umbrellas to people who are in that area. And you could basically set up a template like that, and our features would keep this running for you. So instead of having to hire a bunch of people to look at the forecasts and create campaigns and post them when it stops raining, instead you kind of set up this data feed once, and then you've got everything running. So, and it's not just a single feature, but there's actually a lot of stuff we do. And the basic idea is that we try to automate everything that we can and also automatically improve your results. It all started with, this is our CTO Tuomo coding, and also our founder CEO Kristo there, Juhana photobombing in the back, he's a product manager. So we started, of course, by just hacking something together for a couple of customers. And in our case, Rocket Internet was one of the first customers we won, which is amazing because they are one of the biggest online advertisers in the world. And for some reason, they trusted these two guys to build something for them. And it was really kind of just listening very actively what they figured out and then trying to build a product for it. And in the early stages, the architecture was also very simple. So of course, Tuomo only knew PHP and Angular. So we had an Angular front end, PHP backend, MongoDB, and that's it, boom. That should get you to some level. Well, it turns out as we kind of figured out what works and what doesn't, we started scaling the team. This is not where we are right now. So our first step was to kind of start extracting different microservices for these. And the basic rule of thumb for us has been that whenever there's an area where we want to invest heavily in the future, we try to split that to a microservice, basically following domain-driven design principles so that kind of different concepts are owned by different services. So some of the first ones we took out were there's a feed processing service called Pena, there's a revenue optimization service called Wolfhound, reporting API, Distillery, and then video rendering Reindeer. So whenever a concept can be owned by one of these, we kind of took it out, and now the development teams are working on these ones separately. So in terms of technology stack, this is kind of how it used to look like and what we're mostly doing right now. So on the front end, we've been able to rewrite some of the most important parts in React and Redux using Flow for type checking. And then on the back end, we have Ruby on Rails and Node.js services mostly. On the data side, it's nowadays a bit more complex with Postgres being our main kind of analytics database, and then we host a lot of raw data in Cassandra. So right now we're looking at about $1 billion of annual ad spend going through our platform, which also means that whenever we do some bugs, we actually have a nice chance of spending other people's money for nothing good. So sometimes there's been a couple of occasions when we've had to pay some tens of thousands of euros back to a customer because something bad happened with our platform, which kind of reminds us that whenever we are working on some parts of the system, you want to be extra careful. But then again, at the same time, we're trying to build as many automatic ways of catching these types of errors as possible so that we can still move fast, because that might make you scared if you look at those numbers too much. One important area in our product is the reporting and campaign management. So we offer a tool that basically replaces everything you can do with Facebook's own ads manager or Power Editor. And with our tool, you can look at your campaign data with pretty much any dimensions that you could imagine. So you can sort by anything, you can filter by anything, you can group by anything, you can get data in different time frames with different attribution windows. So there's a lot of that complexity in just the basic UIs. And at the same time, we of course try to make it as easy as possible to do all the batch operations at once. So for example, here you're grouping your data based on campaign, creative headline, country. So if you want, for example, want to stop this creative headline in that country, you can easily just toggle that row and select pause everything. So that's a very powerful feature for our customers, but it of course sets some makes things complex from the back end. And this is mostly supported by our reporting database and our reporting services. So we get our customers' conversion events in from a lot of different sources. It's not just Facebook, but it can be all kinds of other things. So they can build custom integrations, they can use mobile measurement partners, or any of the most common analytics tools out there. So we want to make sure that whatever the customer is using, they can still continue doing that smartly, and they don't have to build their own scripts to merge this data together, which can be quite tedious, but which is something that many customers are currently doing. So there's a lot of this Excel type of wizardry going on in the industry, and we kind of try to replace Excel as much as possible. We also build a reporting API that then everyone is using for our customers can both build some custom things on top of it, but also, of course, our own UIs use the same things. And in Postgres, we host the kind of aggregate data. So, for example, on this day, for this type, for these types of events, we have this many conversions. So, just the sums per day and that kind of things. And then at the same time, in our Cassandra database, we're hosting all the raw events. So that allows us to do some better optimization, for example, in our revenue optimization features. So there's a lot of challenges just to keep the kind of basic data querying real time and so on, and that's been something that the team has been working on quite a bit. One of the cool features that you might have seen in our blogs or in news is our image templates. And the basic idea is that if you have a catalog of product images, they might not be directly suitable as something that you could use for your ads. So with us, you can set up your feed integration, and then we can pull dynamically all the images that you have. And then you could build something like this by adding some layers. You could even add conditional layers. Let's say that if this is discounted, then show this bubble showing the discount percentage. So everything here can be from a product feed. So previously you might have had customers who had someone manually running Photoshop batch jobs to create these kinds of things. But to give some sense of our scale, we're doing about 2 petabytes of these images every month. So that's like a very big part of Finland's internet traffic in total, if we host it in Finland. Luckily we don't. But so customers can create very complex image templates with this very easily and use them anywhere. And here's another example of an image template. So basically the dynamic part is the photo of the city, and then there's the price and city name coming from the feed, but it looks like it's a real photograph. And we started that process by first trying to generate all the images manually, or in a batch job before uploading things to Facebook. Turns out that was way too slow. Sometimes if you have 100 million products, that would take days for us to render that many images. So we ended up with this kind of more on-demand solution. It's great because we don't do extra work. We only render the images that are actually needed, but at the same time it sets some interesting limitations because we have to be able to handle any variance in load. So it can be that Facebook suddenly requests us 1 million images at once, and then we have to be prepared to do something about it. And there's a lot of different caching mechanisms that we built to make this work. So we cache everything that we generated. We cache all the user images that we download, and we try to make sure that we reuse it as much as possible. Because it's not once or twice that we've actually taken down a customer website because Facebook suddenly requested 1 million images, and then we requested 1 million images, and that kind of stuff happens. So here you can see a little bit on kind of the nature of the load. This one is capped, so you don't even see how high it's going, but we have to prepare to support like 10x increase in load within a second or two. So we also cannot just launch new servers at that point, but instead we have to serve them right away at that point. Which is why we have a lot of these image processing servers. Of course, this is something we have to monitor very actively, and we have built a lot of infrastructure to make this possible. I think just today we ordered some 50 servers more just to support this infrastructure. So it's something we have to actively work with, but it's also been very valuable feature to our customers. And if you're interested, there's a blog post about this exact stuff with more details. And just to make it more difficult for our DevOps team, we also do the same thing for videos nowadays. So there's you can basically create a video template very easily, where it's mostly based on existing templates and then customizing them. So people generally are not very good with like advanced video editing software like Adobe After Effects. So we allow them to do more of a like PowerPoint or Keynote style customizations than anything else. But here's, for example, an example of a video. So you could dynamically get the list of images, and then you can get the names of the products, and you can get the prices, discounts, and that kind of stuff. So with a couple of clicks, you could be creating a video like this. Another totally different topic is that we have our optimization features, and this is something our data scientists are working on all the time. So in the UI, it might look relatively simple. You just toggle a feature on, and then you choose what's your goal. Do you want to optimize for revenue or conversations? And then a couple of other settings. For example, if you want to automatically scale your spending as long as you're making money, and that's it. And even though we've launched this feature or we've launched budget allocation a really long time ago, this is something that we've still continuously developed forward, and we've continuously added other signals and other parts to the model so that it works better for all the different types of customer cases. So of course, that's also one thing that makes it a lot easier for us to justify our price to our customers, because if we can lower your customer acquisition cost by 10%, and we can prove that, you will be happy to pay a couple of % of your advertising spend to us. And if you're more interested in this, there's a blog post about that as well. Boom. So right now the scale is that we're around 500 servers. And we're hosting in Germany with some actual dedicated servers. So the scale of this exercise is starting to get pretty significant, I would say. Of course, for that there's a significant like DevOps side to this. Right now the DevOps team is only 5 people, but they are very efficient, and we try to build as many systems as possible for the whole team to be able to follow what's happening there. You can see we're using the basic Grafana and Elk stacks here. Since we also play with people's money, we actually also log almost everything that we do. So whenever we change something in Facebook APIs, we actually store all the API requests we do to Facebook, and that for a period of about a month, which means that we also maintain a 50 terabyte Elasticsearch cluster just to be able to see what kind of things are happening there. Because if we end up changing some budgets and we don't know why exactly it happened, it's going to be very difficult to serve the customers well. So this is actually the debugging tools and the logging infrastructure and that kind of things are one of the things that we've always done extremely well, and that's been in the product since the beginning. So that's been a very, very helpful in developing this forward. And finally, if we go more to the front-end side, there also we try to scale this by having people create systems first and kind of platforms, and then it's easier for developers to apply this stuff in real life. So we do this like storybook based or design. Basically, we have interactive design guidelines that you can use, and then you can easily pick components that you can use in the UI. And scaling design has to be one of the big challenges for us, because we do have a lot of different features in our UI, but with this we hope that developers will be able to do design better themselves, and of course we're constantly hiring more designers as well. And finally, if you look at kind of other things that's driving our product development and our culture, this is we just released a culture handbook as well. So it's talking about how we work. This was my presentation today is mostly about what kind of stuff we have and what kind of challenges. But I would say there's a couple of interesting things, especially if you compare to many other companies I've seen. There's a strong focus on learning. So the company was founded by people who didn't know anything about Facebook marketing, which is an interesting starting point. But then you just have to kind of acknowledge that, well, you have to learn it from somewhere. You can try to learn it from the best, and then you can try to solve their problems the best you can. And that's been kind of always an important part of how we work, that we listen to the customers very actively. We try to maximize learning in all stages and also make it as quick as possible. And also, if you look at the kind of full stackness, we've always hired a lot of people who don't like to be put into one box. So we have people who moved from development side to become account managers. We have account managers who become developers or later product managers, and like there's surprisingly a lot of movement inside the company between the different roles, and that kind of tells you that there's also people who are capable of doing that kind of stuff. So people are doing kind of trying to help wherever they can, and this has been a very interesting part. And finally, to get an idea of how we ship this stuff, we have split our team to roughly 5 different teams at the moment. So each team has a name, which is kind of random, because if you try to be descriptive, then you're going to be wrong in a month or two. So this kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility. The teams have a mission of what they are trying to achieve as a kind of higher level goal, and then they try to build their own roadmap for solving that mission. So for example, Autopsy is the team around automatically improving customers' results. So that's the team with most of the data scientists, and they are building features that would help customers to automatically get better results on Facebook. So that means that you need to interview customers, you need to understand the core of what they are doing, and then trying to come up with features, validating them, and so on. So we try to build very full stack teams around solving those different problems. And well, Kino is creative optimization, that's the image templates, video templates. Middle management is workflow and core Facebook functionality. Bobby Tables is the reporting team, all the data integrations, data pipelines. Autopsy, as I said, optimization, and then Top Gun is the feed-based advertising and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to be done in each one of these. We cannot centrally plan what's going to happen in 2 years, because it's also affected by what happens in the marketplace, what Facebook is going to deliver. So it's better that we have these autonomous teams who can try to figure out what is the next step, what are the right features to build, and if we've chosen the like focus areas and team missions properly, then we end up with a good product in each one of these most important categories. And that concludes my talk. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, so the decision to go with dedicated servers is mostly because we are so cheap, I guess. So 2 petabytes of traffic can cost like hundreds of thousands a month on the cloud with the cloud providers. So there's simply like, we wouldn't be very profitable if we actually hosted with AWS. Of course, I think at this scale you start to get some kind of discounts and so on, but also it's something that we happen to be doing from the beginning, and it doesn't mean that we maintain the hardware, for example. So we have automatic systems. If a disk fails, they'll get the notification and they can exchange the hard disk and that kind of stuff. So we are not into that stuff, and we automate all the server setup and everything else with Ansible and a bunch of other things. So we feel that we are kind of at a good ROI. In a sense, we only have 5-person DevOps team, and we are saving hundreds of thousands per month in hosting expenses. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very good question, and it doesn't mean that for a new project, for example, that would necessarily be the right approach. We just happened to had a DevOps guy as the second employee. So good question. Something else.
Isn't Facebook very interested in all those features? Because basically you are adding functionality that they could also offer in their platform.
Yeah, so it's an interesting marketplace in the sense that Facebook has their own free tools. Of course, their free tools have to be usable by millions of advertisers, so they prioritize things a bit differently. But of course, for Facebook as well, a big chunk of the money comes from the like big advertisers, and pretty much you can imagine that whenever we build something cool, you should expect Facebook to copy that at least in a couple of years. So there's kind of an expiration date for some of the value add as well. So if you just stop developing, you're not going to be very successful in the longer term. But also it's taken them, I think now they are, for example, rolling something around the image templates, but it's basically just a way to add like a discount percentage there, nothing else. So it takes a long time before things get implemented there, but it's true that there's definitely this competitive dynamic, and we have this good partnership with Facebook, but at the same time, of course, they are trying to figure out what would be good to build on their platforms as well. Yeah.
Just to add into that Facebook is actually actively selling smartly in every way they can, because they have a certain kind of partners which are providing good tools on top of their platform, and Smartly is one of the one they actually kind of advertise a lot and sell to the agencies and big clients.
Yeah, it's true. So there's two different teams. There's the like native tools team that get, and then there's the like partner ecosystem. And with the partner ecosystem, whenever if they can figure out how to scale their customers, which means that if the customers are getting good results, then they will spend more money. So how can you get good results? Well, if you automate everything and use all the possible signals that you can and so on. So there's a healthy competition between the two. If you're not adding value, if you're not making the results better, then the customers will not choose us and Facebook will not recommend us. And if we add value, then it's in the Facebook's interest to also recommend as much as possible.
What it will mean to expand to Google?
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting area. So as you can figure out, expanding from one platform to multiple platforms is a very big jump in any company's roadmap, and it has impacts are anything from how we deliver our service, how we educate our account managers, how do we structure the teams, because there's starting to be too much expertise you need to have to be able to run all of this. So we've started this kind of with an internal research process. We looked into pretty much all the top platforms, and kind of our decision is driven by the fastest way to market with a new product that complements our current product, and then at the same time we're of course looking at the market opportunity with the different tool sizes and so on. But there's actually some of the first prototypes in the works right now, but that's going to be exciting times.
Maybe a stupid question, but how do you get access to the Facebook API? Is it like open for everyone? Like if I wanted to establish my own company similar to this, is it just that I could access it by asking, or do you need to have a special relationship with Facebook?
Yeah, you need to have a little bit of a special relationship. So we, for example, helped Nosto, another Finnish Facebook marketing partner, a little bit to get contact with the right people there. Our own story is actually that we couldn't get access to it because they have a lot of things they want to validate before they give you that access. But then Tuomo, our CTO, hacked it so that he built a script that logs into Facebook's own tools, and it copies the access token from there So then it changes every hour or something, but every hour the script would go and get the new access token, and then that would be used for getting access there. So even before we were allowed to Facebook's API, we kind of did it anyway. And since Facebook is very kind of hacker-oriented culture, they were just really happy that this happened. Some other company might have sued us, but yeah, it's not trivial. Yeah, they do control the ecosystem a little bit. Yeah.
Do you have any plans to work with those parties that the traditional media is working more with, like AppNexus and those guys? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's all kinds of alternatives in the longer term. Right now, I would say that being really successful with these kind of core areas in Facebook is really important, and then being able to serve on other platforms is kind of a natural next step, because we already have access to your creative libraries and your data feeds and that kind of stuff. So just scaling that to other platforms makes a lot of sense. But yeah, there's a lot of things we could be doing in the longer term, but really not in the next year at least. Very good. I think I'm reaching the end of my time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So this next session won't be streamed online and will be back 6:15. 2. Can you hear me? Oh, great. Okay, shall we start? Our final speaker, Petri Vatanen, is the Director of Digital Operations in the largest Finnish marketing agency, Dagmar. According to Wikipedia, media agencies advise companies on how and where to advertise and on how to present a positive picture of themselves to the public. In the digital world, which is full of complexity, this has become even harder because media agencies are using sophisticated technology to decide where, when, and which price their clients are spending their money. To understand the technology, please join me in welcoming Petri.
Thank you. So I have to add one thing on from the first slide. So Dagmar is an independent agency, and then that means that all our tools are we don't have a global network where we actually get all the tools. We choose them, we select them, we integrate them and use them. So we are lacking in some areas, and in some areas we can actually go forward faster than others. So we can invest in certain areas better than most of the agencies in Finland who are part of the global network, because all the development is made in other areas than in Finland. But I will explain what that actually means as an independent, because our core is a little bit different than the other agencies. So one slide about Dagmar. Dagmar is the oldest media agency in Finland. So it's a part of Sanoma Group, and nowadays kind of more or less a full service marketing agency. So we have a consulting business with the Dagmar Drive. I'm a part of that. I do mostly marketing technology consulting nowadays. And then we have a Dagmar Stories, which is content marketing and community management. So we buy media, of course, it's our core in nowadays also, but we do lots of things in marketing. So you can actually buy from us, from the creative to delivery, everything. And my projects are more or less nowadays marketing automation, marketing technology in wide. On the landscape, I'm touching all the areas in there nowadays. So it's a different way. It's not only media agency, it's more or less the whole marketing scape. And Dagmar is good company to be in, because we have most of the biggest clients and brands in Finland. So we have around 800 clients, and around 100 of them are kind of digitally heavy on buying or doing things. So I can actually do work with a nice big brands and big advertisers. So, but about me a little bit. One slide only about this. This is my background. From the 10-year-old, I got my first Commodore, and then I actually don't have it. I lost it in one move, and at the same time I lost my Amiga and everything. So that's sad. But I have a computer science background. I did my first 10 years on software development in different areas, mainly in web services, like doing nowadays it's called Cybercom from Plenware. I was doing in most of the Alma Media's websites some work, and then 2008 I actually joined Sanoma and changed it to from IT perspective to the online advertising, and I've been on marketing and advertising since, been in publisher side and advertiser side, and now in the agency side. So combination of technology background and then marketing, that's where I'm from. And I haven't been so active in a year or something in social media. I will be soon again, so you can follow me on those. But these are the things I was going to talk about today. I'm not going to the how are things integrated, but more about what kind of tools we have and what areas. So not the nicest picture, but still it explains the things we use with misspelling in there also. Our core is not data management platform and data customer audience, and that's the main difference between us and the main of the global agencies, because they have DMP, which are normally global. They can collect all the identities for their advertisers in the same place. But our way of working is different. We don't use DMP to collect all the identities between all our customers. We are always dedicated one to certain clients. So their data is their data, and we use that to the different things. So our core is ad server and a DSP, which collects most of the data, and that we use. If client has a DMP, then we use that, and we have a couple of options to provide them also if they want a cheap option on there. But that's the main difference on us, and it makes us also kind of trusted party in that area. We don't collect and use other people's data, so that's the main difference on that. But then there's some parts which are either integrated well or just used in own silo besides of the ad server and DSP. So we use in the Facebook advertising, we use Smartly. I will show up our components in there. We have a shared advertising team which uses their own tools in certain areas. We have ways of measuring audience and doing analytics on those, and Jan could talk about ad frauds and robot traffic and so things like that. We have tools to measure those, and so we can optimize on those. And of course you need to report, visualize things. There's a tool set for that. And then one important part, not overly used, should be used more, is the moment marketing platform. So if something changes, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to on playing on Real Madrid, we can use that as a trigger to start an advertising campaign. So that's the one part of it. And one important area is the creatives and the production of creatives and the banners. So that's the one task. So we use two different cores. We separate our clients to using either ad form as a core or double click as a core, depending a little bit what they do. Mainly advertisers who are doing global advertising from Finland, we tend to go with the double click as core, and e-commerce sites, the clients who are using Google Analytics 360. So those are the clients who are using our double click stack, and then others mainly ad form, because at least so far it has been the best to have in a Finnish publisher inventory, but that's changing, and double click is having all the same nowadays. But let's see the ad form as a core elements. So these are the tools we provide for our clients. They could have their own tools also, and if they do, we use those. So if I list all the tools we use, there are plenty of those. Every tools from the kind of at least the Lumascape, AdTech, and also from the marketing technology side. So AdForm is a good tool in the way that it has an ad serving background. They have a quite solid DSP, and they have a DMP, which are quite enough for most of the advertisers need. It's not the best DMP to use if you have your own really good data and you want to combine that to your CRM data to the media buying part, but you can do that with it also. But it's good enough tool for most of the areas. In Facebook advertising, we use Smartly more and more. We tend to use it on kind of early, and it wasn't there. It showed that they didn't understand the Facebook advertising then, but if you look the tool today, they really do that nowadays. So there's a lot of learning in there. Really good tool for buying and optimizing. It's mainly used for clients who actually have a conversion point in e-commerce or some lead advertising and feed-based product. It's brilliant for those. It saves them time, and it works well. So that's what we use. And AdForm, unfortunately, doesn't have search advertising tool set. It only can collect the data, and that's why it's combined to the core. But we normally use the AdWords Bing ads in the normal buying options, and testing a little bit the algorithmic based tools like Albert. You should check that, albert.ai. So those are the things which will be used a lot more because it helps optimize your search advertising a lot. So you should check all the Albert, and there's a couple of other options. We are testing them all. And then important part is to validate actually what you're buying to your client, and of course you can optimize. We are now selected the ComScore tool for validating the audience. Is it the right audience? If you use Sanoma's data, is it actually, if we target to that, are they actually men or women or the audience we are wanting to do? So we can compare other data sources to that. And then it actually looks into viewability, ad fraud, is it human traffic or not? So it's quite good tool, and then we tested a lot of tools on that and decided to go with the ComScore nowadays. And then the moment marketing platform, I think I have one slide on that later on, but we use TVTU for that. It has good options for triggering with also third-party data, whether television channels, what's your own ad is in. When your own ad is showing in the TV, you can launch the advertising in mobile or desktop, and sports, different kind of sports events, and even pollution for certain areas. So if it's not that often used in Finland, but in globally, it's a really good tool. And then of course the reporting part, we use either Datarama if client is willing to pay around 1,000 to 2,000 euros a month, then that's a really good tool. But otherwise we use a Power BI. We have our own data warehouse where we actually collect all the data from AdForm and show it on the Power BI. Also combining that to the other media buying. This is only the digital part. And then mostly we don't have a full stack of analytics tools. Normally our clients have their own. They either use Google Analytics if they are not that big, or they use Adobe Analytics or Google Analytics 360. Those are the main options. But we normally provide them a mobile analytics part with an Apply or Adjust. So those are normally bought through us. And then the other part, the DoubleClick core, there's a little bit differences on DoubleClick with AdForm. The main thing is they don't have a DMP, or they don't sell that in Finland, and it's too expensive for what they actually give out in the features. So you could actually fill up the DMP part with a DoubleClick, but we've chosen to use Csense on that. It has good match rates to the DoubleClick Bid Manager, and it's good enough tool for using DMP. And in the core, it's a double-click campaign manager is the ad server, bid manager for the DSP, and those collect most of the data. And the good thing in a double-click is the same price you actually collect in the ad form, all the data about the search advertising, you actually have a tool for optimizing search advertising, and it's quite good in that. So DoubleClick has a good tool set for the advertising part in digital advertising. Still, Facebook is not working that well. We use Smartly on that. And then in both of the parts, ad form and the DoubleClick, they both have a tool called Studio, where you actually can create creatives and do the rich media part, normal banners, and also feed-based banners. And nowadays, DoubleClick is a little bit in front of in development of data-driven creative, so you can use the data from the ad serving part to select what it's shown in the banner. It's on development. They showed a couple of slides in DMX, which showed really cool things on that, but it's not there yet. So they kind of sold the promise were there, but it's going there. So I can use all the segmentation I created in and the data sets in DoubleClick Core and use that as a one data point in creative. So if this kind of person who converted came here, I can show this kind of banner for him. And that's the future where all of the tools are going. You could use tools like Banner Flow, Fluid Ads, things where you actually easily can create creatives on there, but they are lacking on the data part. So we decided to go in the route we create our own templates, which uses feeds and uses data, so we can actually dynamically choose what's shown to what client. I will show up our one test what we done with the data on the banner optimization. And then same tools in campaign validation. Google has a little bit tendency to show up their own inventory a little bit too optimistically, so it's good to actually validate the data on their part also. And Google has a really good offering on the data part, so we take the data out to the BigQuery and then show it up in the data studio for clients who actually use DoubleClick. It's an easy way to report on things, and it has straight connectors to the AdWords and things like that. And data RAM is also there. So there's a lot of same ingredients there, but the core is same. The tools, ad form, DoubleClick are really similar. There's not too much differences in there. The main differences are on the inventory, what you get, because you can get YouTube and others from the DoubleClick. In ad form part, you have to go to YouTube and buy through AdWords or YouTube straight away. So those are the two kind of what we provide to our clients. Of course, they could have from the global customers we have, they might have some other validation tool, then we use that. So we're always testing new tools, but these are kind of what we tend to go if client doesn't have any preferences on those. I took a couple of components on the stack in the other slides also, because these are not that much in the public, and most of the people know ad form and DoubleClick. These are the area agencies do a lot of work. So viewability is a key part. If you're buying inventory, you need to see that they actually can be seen, and this is a debate on the publisher and on our side all the time. So we always look in the viewability after the banner is shown. So when it's actually there, most of the publishers actually, when they look into viewability, they look into ad placement when it's loaded, and it's a totally different game if you or the HTML5 banner needs to come there, and then you calculate that. And there is problems with the banners, and mainly they are done. Okay, Janko can correct me post impression calculation, but yeah. Not that much. It's mostly it's like I said, it's a post impression calculation, and then not that much. The problem is that when we change from the Flash to the HTML5 banners, the same people who has been doing the Flash banners are now doing HTML5 banners in the creative agencies, and they don't know what they're doing. So the banners are really big. So there's a one training area where we actually could make a lot of things done, and it leads to the ad blocking and everything. So if you want to, in Sanoma also and others, that's the area where there's also lots of money moving, and also there's a lot of people who need to be trained. And there's also lacking tools on that. So Adobe has their own tools, but they are not that good in creating the HTML5 in the way that it doesn't actually affect that much on the page load. So ComScore is our kind of selected tool on this because of those things: viewability, fraud detection, brand safety. But is it if we use geolocation targeting? Is it in that targeting area? And also looking into the audience. It provides it all, and it provides all actually for free, almost for free. So that's why we use that. And we've tested a lot of tools. Almost every tool there is in some point for viewability, for audience measurement. So the other one, what is strongly used in Scandinavia is the audience project, to look into the audiences and even target to audiences. And then there's a DMA Institute used their tool. They have also viewability attribution, things like that. We use that mainly for audience measurement. And there's couple of tools to use in the viewability at fraud robots. Part is the inventory quality. So what we try to optimize is a human CPM. So it should be viewable, it should be human traffic, not the human traffic in that way, but it's not the robots. So, and then when you look into those numbers and you look into inventory through the kind of human CPM, the world is totally different when you look into price of human CPM or CPM, and in a global that's really important. There might be really expensive inventories which are actually, if you look at human traffic and the viewable traffic, they are actually cheap depending on the others. Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's always. So I think most of the agencies in Finland is kind of leading towards the ComScore now. And then, of course, using also ad serving, because AdForm gives their own viewability amounts also. They are quite same. That's why we don't use those every time. We use those in kind of crucial campaigns, which when client sees that's important. but mostly we just test it and we look into the other tools. And AdForm has a tendency to have a same viewable percentages than these do. So that doesn't matter for us that much. But still, going to buy in only viewable, then we have a lot of things to do, and deciding where to actually measure it and how to and so on. So I think we just should follow what IAB does in globally, not kind of doing anything here. Just follow the lead and use those standardization, those methods of collecting data and tracking data. And these players are doing the same. So you can actually decide from IRB standard or your trigger in there, and you can have a numbers on that area. Yeah, that's true. And we are from the buying side, we are trying to do that in future more. We haven't been that good on that. But those are tools we used on that, and there are lots of tools. One cheap option to look if you want to this is the matrix. It's simple to use with the AdForm. You just start using it basically, and it doesn't. And the price range is quite cheap. The other part which are not used that much is the moment marketing part. You should check this, what they provide. This is actually from their website. So those are the targeting options. Of course, underneath that it's different things, but there's a lot of things you can use. Sports is one which has a good examples and use cases. So there's when your certain team does a score in a football or certain player is coming to the pitch or things like that, you can use as a trigger and a data point in the banner. So those are really, really nice. And almost all of these are better in global advertising part, not that good in Finland, but still there are things you can use like weather from here. Of course, publishers provide that also, or you can use open data for weather, but this has everything collected, so that's why we use that. It's a CPM price, so it calculates on the CPM price when you use this data in a part.
Do you have any examples of cases where you used that?
Yeah, but those I don't have a public cases, so we have a certain. So weather is a good option because we have normally our clients which are using this have a continuous advertising mode. They have always campaigns on. So and we optimize a banner with products and certain things for the audiences. So those banners in the rainy weather we can advertise and change the banners to the not taking away from the all the ice cream banners in that area and so on. So it's quite a lot of use, and it actually works quite well, even in a conversion based. So that's the weather is perhaps the best used and can be best used in these in Finland. But they have quite a good use cases on their site also. You should check those. And the search part is kind of tricky also. There's a dedicated tool for search advertising. With certain clients we use tools like Genshu and Marin with their own tool set, which has a social media advertising and display advertising or programmatic advertising in the same tool. But those are not widely used in our but because we want to collect the data in the same ad server, it's better to use the same platform. So, but the whole search advertising is changing a lot, and it has been you have to have people who do the optimization quite a lot, but in future it's less and less. So there tend to be, in one point everyone wanted to have the search advertising in-house, and it led to the point that there wasn't enough resources to do that because someone left and someone had to pick up after her or him, and that's why there's a lot of small agencies or bigger agencies doing search advertising dedicating to that. But nowadays, with a little bit of machine learning, because there's a lot of data in search advertising, you can actually optimize the bidding and the creative and in ad group level also. It tends to lead to back to the position that you don't need that much people anymore. So this is the area where you can optimize with machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms earlier than other areas. There's not that, it's easier to do in here. So we tested with the Albert, we tested with the Finch, which are globally gaining traction on this area, and we are testing with the Easy Leads. Every one of those tools are working differently. So there's no tool to actually fit to all clients, and then that's also in every machine learning script you do. That there's no thing you need to. You can do kind of algorithms which are usable for all. You have to be customizing those. But those are used, and also for the search advertising, we use optimization tools to provide information needed on that area, and we also do search engine optimization for clients. So that's why we have tools for that area also. But search is important part, and with the double click stack, we use that a lot, because when you combine all the data, you actually can be doing good attribution for the whole thing. Because with the search, if you combine a natural search part here and you combine that to the display advertising in other areas, you actually have all the data in the same place, and you can actually create a good attribution and look into where actually conversion is happening, which paths, and doing things out of that. And that's actually what we are now doing more and more. So trying to get the data out, do our own attribution, and then try to push back to optimize the whole campaigns and add audiences and such. Those are the kind of key parts of the stack. Of course, the most important part is the ad serving part and DSP part that collects all the data. But if you have more than one DSP, then you actually need a DMP to collect all the data and use that for the attribution. In Finnish market, this is so small that you don't get benefits on using the kind of channel-specific DSPs for mobile one and video one, and so it's better to use one, collect the data, and use that to optimize the whole kind of conversion, not only the channel-specific ways. But when you do a global bot, then you need tools. Then you need a video DSP, mobile DSP, and to handle frequency between those, then you need to select some DMP to do things. So you have to have a good data management platform under those. But in Finnish market, you really don't need that. You only need that if you have a really good, solid understanding of your own data and you want to utilize that in the display advertising part and in search. Then you need a good tool for that. But otherwise, it's mainly waste of money. So it's better to optimize the kind of total what you get from every channel rather than a channel-specific way. And then the kind of stuff we are creating, piloting, actually using. So those tools are not enough to actually make things well and do things well, and not now, and in the future you need to do certain things by yourself. So we are collecting data to the same ad server, and we take all the raw data out from there. So, and push that to the certain cloud. We tested with the Amazon and BigQuery or Google Cloud, because we use other than BigQuery also, and selected to use a Google part mainly for that. So we take data out, use that for the certain things. So one thing is to do our own segmentation if we have other data sets, and use that for our own segmentation, push that back to the ad serving and use those as a targeting audiences. That's one part. And data collected is all the impressions or the part of search, and also website traffic, and other parts we can actually collect events from certain clients. So those are the parts we do more and more, but only with the most advanced our clients. So that's not for all. But then there's things we do to kind of make our own work more efficient. So one thing is to optimize the budget to the certain campaigns, to the optimization part. That's, I have a couple of slides on that. I will explain about that more. One is the data-driven attribution model. Most of the tools you use in attribution, they look into data in a certain attribution models, last click, first click, first part, and then it's good to have those and look into the different ways, but they are just ways of looking into data. So we make our own R-based algorithm to look in in a data-driven way to the attribution and reporting that. And then we have for the same data, and then a little bit using the Google Sheets and duct tape is doing a banner optimization. So I will explain things a little bit what we do. So one thing, which is one of the most important ones, is the budget optimization. So we collect all the raw data out. This is only working now with the ad form, by the way. So we haven't done this with the double click yet. So we take all the campaign information, all the creatives, all the line items, look what kind of what is actually converting, and then change the budgeting on those between those line items. So it's quite simple tool, but it's a really effective way of optimization. So actually, if you want to read, there's a lot of more text in here there, but it's easy calculation, and then it changes the budgeting only slightly in every time, once a day. And we put this and started to use it with kind of our best performance planner, and it beat him all the time. So we're starting to use this more and more. So really simple one, just to optimize different line items to the certain CPA, and it works really well. So when you use data with those tools, you can actually do pretty cool things. Every system ad form double click has good APIs. You can collect the data out, you can push it back, you can start new line items, you can change the budget, so on. And same works with a double click in the search also. You can use. So the next step from here, we are doing that to the branding part. We are starting to optimize to viewability, what we talk about, and other brand metric engagement, what we can actually select. So those are the things which are not that hard to do. Actually, we did a algorithm for this with R, but changed it to here to the Python code. So that's the way this is created, and I'm now starting to push this forward, so we can actually use our planner's time more to the efficient different things, more on the face-to-face with the client than optimizing these kind of things, which can be automated. And then one step forward is the attribution part. So we can now do attribution modeling from that data from the both ad form and then double click part. We take all the data, so raw data, all the sessions, all the impressions what they collect, and then use our own attribution modeling script for that and report that. This is something most of the agencies do. Now we're trying to push this back to actually optimize things. I don't know how forward we go with this. We are waiting for Google attribution product to be shown. I actually go next week to Dublin to see how it works. And it's good tool, but I with the ad form part you cannot use that. So we tend to use our own, and we want to verify all the data. If we use a Google product, we want to verify it actually works in the way we see it should work. So every time we want to do that. But this is this provides lots more info for us, and actually we can decide what kind of data we provide here, and there's no black box in the middle with some attribution tool everyone has, so we know how it works and we can actually show that to the clients also. So that's a difference between tools you use for attribution, and that's why we do that ourselves. Because when you look into this, you combine that to the kind of media mix modeling part, which uses also offline TV, other information. You actually do the pretty big decisions where you put your money on media buying. Do you put in a TV? What do you do in a digital, and so on? And then we just calculated one client with what we done in a year with this, changing how we budget things, and we created then around 10 million revenue in a year because of changing through this. So that's why we do these kind of things. And one data part, which is something which should be used more, is the banner and creative optimization. And this is the area which are actually most crucial for the whole kind of media buying, even marketing. Is it email or whatever channel you want to contact in? It's the creativity and creative. So what you want to use on to actually to make someone do something, and then you can do the targeting, you can do everything, but every time the communication and then the creative you actually serve is the one who actually does the job. And this is in the ad tech world and also marketing technical world. This is not that well. There's not good tools for this, so we've created our own. So behind this is actually DoubleClick Studio template, which uses Google Sheets certain areas for those example background colors, fonts, so on. It reads that from the Google Sheets and creates a dynamic banner on those. So we created for these plenty of different things. This is just test. We had done this with the client also, and then provided that to our algorithm, actually in genetic algorithm. So every generation it learns more and it creates different type of banners, and it learns around that and goes forward. So just to test certain algorithms, and also to try to test the banner optimization, and then it actually lead in these cases that those kind of banners. The data set in here is it's not big enough, but with the client we have been able to do this in a lot more impressions, a lot more data. So there's no tools for this yet. DoubleClick Studio is providing some. You can actually use your data, but there's not good optimization tools. I don't know why Swedes are so good in doing kind of creative tools. They have banner flow, they have FluidAds where you actually create easily all the banners, but they don't use the data behind those banners. So that's the next step. And if someone wants to make money, this is the part. There's lots of things to do, and do it in the way that you can actually combine that to some content as a service part with the CMS, and then collect certain content elements from there and optimize through that. So then there would be lots of money of doing making in there. So these are the things we actually do with the data. So the tool set is for kind of normal work. You use AdForm, you use DoubleClick, you use the buying platform tools, Facebook, or if you go have a client which need to use it better, you use Smartly. But in the end, these are the things when you actually create a value more, when you compare different agencies together. So that's why we are heavily investing in these kind of things. And then when new tools are coming in the market, there are these kind of things where you actually have some value to make and to provide to the advertisers. So if I could make a startup now, I would actually focus on this because it's easy to sell to someone later on, and doing that in a cross-channel way. So all the creatives can be used in email or banner or content personalization on site. So, but at the same time, we can use these in the similar way. So look into those tools, and if you know one who actually really good in data, using data, let me know also. I had one name today already from the Norway, but I haven't looked into that yet. So in the advertising part, we have to go with the tools, with client. In a couple of things, think about what client actually is going to do, how advanced they are doing things, and where they actually want to be, and then we provide a set to or they have a certain tools to us to work. But it's always combination of tools, and it actually leads to the difficult parts like viewability and things like that, because tool sets are different with different advertisers, different agencies. So there's a lot of standardization in the work we need to do, but still there's lots of possibilities in this area, and that's why there are so many players, new startups in AdTech world also. So those are the things I wanted to show you today. So if you have any questions, please shoot. Janku. Oh. We tested a little bit. It's good tool. Our main competitor is using that, so we rather stick with these. And with the DoubleClick, we are certified partner in that. So it's been with us so many years. It's that's why we use that. We used that before Google actually bought them. So it's been. But MediaMath is a good tool. So and it had a lacking on the inventory in Finland, but it's now everyone using AppNexus, so programmatic parts fixed then in that way. But we want to combine ad serving DSP the same, but MediaMath is nowadays capable on those also, so doing automated guaranteed part or what they call it, and it has a DMP which are quite capable also. We are testing also AppNexus as a buying platform. It's not there yet, so let's see. We postponed the testing to the January when they actually have certain features in place, and then test it, because there's certain nice features in there you actually can use and create your own buying algorithms into that platform. So it might help us to actually beat the Janku's brains on the other side. So to getting the most cheap way of buying ads. But let's see, it's not there in the DSP part yet. So we will test that and how, and perhaps then there will be the third stack in like we have now.
I have three questions. Like
Yeah.
what does make you
That's the tricky question. I don't know yet that much. We are kind of we have been in a safe position in the way that we can use the client's data and the client is responsible nowadays on that. That's why you need to have a trustful partner for doing those things. In future, we are one of the handlers on the data, and that's only part of which are changing actually. So publishers are collecting the opt-ins or the advertiser is, and we are helping on that. So it doesn't change a lot. It might lead to the not to have that much data to target on, and it might lead to using more not using data that much in a kind of first layer of doing things before you can actually get the opt-in and then do the better targeting. And it actually, unfortunately, it leads to us to use more Google and Facebook as an inventory because they have opt-in, they will have opt-in, and we have targeting options better in there. So the regulation is made for protecting also European companies and publishers, and it's failing on that area. But as a B2B contact for most of the advertising world is, I actually love all the e-privacy legislation and regulation on that, because then I actually they need to have me opt in on things, and then that's what I love about that. But let's see, I don't see that as a panicking mode. We always use what is available, so let's see what happens. So I think it's mainly focusing now to collect opt-ins on different channels, and from the email subscriptions and from the site and using that. So the cookie world is easy in the way that the data is not there a long time. So if you have only anonymized data, it's 30 days, maximum 90 days, and then it's gone. So you have to always get the opt-in again and again every time. So you need to create some models and tactics to getting those. But we have tools for that, and also planned certain tactics for our clients to collect their own data and the whole kind of customer base. So let's see how they work in future. But like everyone else we are still looking in how it's going to be in Finland, how they are going to be in place here. So let's see. Good.
Thank you. We have still some more beer there. If you want to talk about ad technology, just go ahead and go to the lobby. But before we quit, we've been talking quite a lot about advertising technology. We've been talking about automation, artificial intelligence. But what's your view on the creativity then? Where will the creativity go next?
That's good. First step is that actually people who are doing the banners are actually using data as a basis of it, and that's totally lacking in Finland. So, like the Netflix is creating their series on the basis of data, but we are not creating any added banners at all for the data, and we have it. What works, what doesn't, and that's the first step. And then we have tested certain things to actually give our script to algorithm to be able to actually create a whole banner, but I didn't want to show them yet. So there's a wide ones, but let's see what works. But machine learning and artificial intelligence is kind of, I think it's going to be increasing creativity and you have a data and you actually can kind of fill up the blanks with, and you can start doing things and give a machine to actually create in the end. So there's a lot of things to do in that area. And like I said, that's the area where you actually make the whole kind of, that's the most important part on doing marketing and advertising, is the how you actually communicate to the clients.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone.